God created war so that Americans would learn geography. It's a famous quote attributed to Mark Twain and proven to be true, especially over the last few years. You could probably point to Ukraine on a map at this point, or at least describe where it is. But most recently, at least since last October, maybe you were inclined to look up just how small that strip of land that borders Israel is. And if you followed the news this weekend, you know the war between Israel and Hamas now has a third player, Iran. It makes for a timely introduction across Boise, where new billboards have popped up overnight. They're from a pro-Israel organization that wants to send a message: Jews should not be afraid or silent about who they are. Here's Andrew Bartline.
Down a Boise arterial, off the corner of Allenbaugh. A new message is fair in view.
It's so much bigger than I anticipated.
The Idaho Isreal Alliance put up 3 Boise billboards to share one single thought. With founder Don Berger.
It's one thing to be pro-Palestinian, but it's another thing to be anti-Israel. And that's where I get really uncomfortable.
And that's why the wording's precise.
The language is a bit kind of in your face, but we chose that on purpose to really wake people up. Because Palestinians are not the problem. I believe in a two-state solution, and I think that vilifying an entire people for what Hamas did is not fair.
On October 7th, Hamas killed 1,200 Israelis. In ongoing war since, local health officials say Israel's killed 33,000 people.
And as soon as they put their arms down, and as soon as they release the hostages, this war will be over.
But now the war's gotten more complicated.
The only time I've left Israel was to go to Ukraine for the 2-year mark.
Zach Anders is an American journalist covering war abroad.
I left the moment it happened.
What we in the States only see on TV, through a phone screen, Zach's documenting in real time the impacts on real lives.
Now that I've seen both wars, I don't know that I'll ever let that go. Palestinians and Israelis have been picked last, just to make a simple analogy. In a lot of ways, escalating now because we have direct confrontation between Iran and Israel.
The large-scale Iranian attack only further pushes in on the Jewish state and further forces their hand.
Generations of Israelis have now served and fought and defended their country against neighbors and enemies who have wanted to destroy them. What we're seeing here is an indiscriminate campaign in certain ways to target Hamas and eliminate Hamas fighters.
The indiscriminate policy has unjust killings, the reality of war, and people don't let it go.
And that breaks my heart.
But Don knows the other side, where Jewish and Israeli nonprofits report a rapid rise of anti-Semitism in the States.
And Jews,
for Don,
have inherently, as a result,
that's one he won't let go.
Didn't really look to be outward about their Judaism.
And he hopes the billboards make it clear.
Jew belong or you belong in the kind of big tent that is Judaism.
I don't know where I land on it politically, I really don't. And the more time that you spend here seeing and speaking to both sides, the harder it is to come to a conclusion.
Don says there are roughly 3,000 Jewish people in Idaho, whether that be a religious connection, an ethnic connection, or a cultural connection. He says it's often a mix of those three, and the Alliance billboards want to tell those people with any capacity, connections to being Jewish, that you are allowed to be Jewish in Idaho. Because even getting, brief thoughts from our friend Zach in Tel Aviv outside the Strip, saying how complicated it is. It's war. It can't be so black and white. It's always more nuanced than that.
That's what I was going to say to you. And it's obviously something you can't describe or sum up in a 3.5-minute story in the middle of an afternoon. I mean, it's hard to do that, obviously. Yeah. No time was our anti-Semitic tone in the United States probably higher prior to World War II, but you can't say it's gone away, obviously.
Yeah, so it's just not the reality of the situation.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
And I'm sure it goes the other way, too.
Yeah.